Welcome back, gang, to the Priority Learning Culture Coaching Podcast. I'm Mike McKean, sitting here with Lorraine Twombly, one of the owners and founders of Priority Learning. How are we doing today, Lorraine?
Just fine, Mike. Thank you so much.
So today we're going to be talking about incivility in the workforce.
Yes.
Well, that seems like it's a pretty common topic these days.
Right.
Not to say that a lot of people are talking about it, but it's something that's happening a lot more these days.
It is.
So what's going on? What are we doing here? What's so bad about incivility?
Yeah, that's a good question, Michael. I do a lot of coaching, and we have a lot of clients that, one or two people will call me and say, hey, you know what? I need some help dealing with some problems with incivility at work. It's either a coworker, a subordinate, someone who works for the leader. It could be a peer or their boss, right? And there are many levels of incivility. And lately, it seems like our society is promoting it, and it's there's a lot of stuff happening, and we won't talk about the political aspect of it, but and it seems like we have a lot of leaders who are not very nice to the people that work for them.
Yeah.
And you know what? It really kills me. If they knew they would make more money, the people who own these businesses and they feel like they have to, be incivil, the incivility is just awful sometimes. And it's not with all companies, because the companies we work with really don't have a lot of that problem.
Yeah.
But the ones who don't work with us, they don't want our training and development on leadership because they actually like that culture. And it takes a certain kind of person to deal with that kind of culture.
Yeah.
And it's why they have such high turnover. But if they realized how much more money they would make, their employees would jump through hoops for them, and they would make, a good more amount of money. So that to me is like a stupid thing. I think for business owners and thinking that they can be like this and stuff like that. And I know that they have high turnover. Nobody wants to go through all this.
Right. It seems to me that it's part of the old corporate mindset. And I think that is changing. We're seeing a lot of progress in certain areas and certain industries, especially in the medium-sized corporations, you know what I mean? But there's this idea that the more we can exploit, the more money we can make. But they're leaving synergy on the table and having no idea what the impact of, if we make everybody who works for us happy and enjoy coming to work and enjoy doing this job, they're going to work harder. And if we may pay them all of the fair amount, right? Oh, but guess what? Then we're making more money because we're making more sales. We're making more units. We're getting a better cost per unit because the people who are doing that are searching for the best prices and the most efficient means of doing that, instead of saying, whatever, the company has big pockets, they'll just pay for that material.
Exactly.
And then it gets lost in the accounting somewhere.
That's right. And so when I get that call, and usually that call is from a really good company, I can definitely help that person. We can go through, what's going on? We go back and forth. I ask lots of questions about, what would you like? What is the expected outcome from this meeting that you're going to have, et cetera, right? And so they come up with their own solutions on how they're going to handle it. And if they need advice, obviously they don't know, so I'm there to help them to figure that out. But lately in our business circle, we're not having a lot of problems with incivility in the workplace. And that's because the reason they come to us to begin with is they have that mindset that I want to do the best for my employees.
Right.
And I want to make sure that they have the best environment, the best culture to work in.
Even beside that, it behooves a leader to say, okay, I'm seeing friction here. There are two people that don't get along, or I'm having a problem getting through to this person, right? And it has become borderline disrespectful. or just abrupt and uncivil. You know, it doesn't have to be mean to be uncivil, right? And there's some ambiguity there, that a gray area that I think has to be kind of recognized as to what's going on. But sometimes you need to say, okay, I'm not able to handle this problem. I don't have the right tools.
That's right.
And so they call you.
Yeah, or Ralph or Craig. Or
Right.
John.
He was in priority learning,
exactly.
but also you specifically.
Well, but yeah, because that's, one of the things that I offer before people come to any of our workshops or after or any time in between, because it usually takes 5 or 6 months to get through a whole series.
Yeah.
Because we do layered learning. We do 3 weeks in between each day, and there's 7 or 8 days to go through.
Yeah.
And by then, everyone is just so happy and going back with some purpose, with some validation about how to handle a lot of this, because communication and the uncivil part of communication is very important, and they see it every single day of their lives.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's with their own family. And so they learn here, and they bring it back to both their personal life and their work life. And so we're very happy to be doing those kinds of things. But yeah, it troubles me because there are a lot of high statistics about there are 93% of employees in the country, in the U.S., that say they are unhappy at work because they are not treated properly.
Yeah.
And a lot of those kinds of things are going, that's a high number of percent. That's a high percentage.
It's a very high percentage. Yeah.
And this is in the whole U.S.
7% of U.S. residents or U.S.
And
laborers,
most of them are here in Maine.
workers. Yeah. That are the 7%?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, only 7% are satisfied with their jobs and that, or
Really?
not having issues with their jobs.
Exactly.
Right now. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Well, it is definitely a mountain of a topic to tackle when you're faced with it. What are some of the things that you see most commonly? Is it more like interpersonal issues and how to communicate, or is it how do I, like, every time I try to motivate this person, I get a clap back? They're just very resistant to me giving them any kind of, for a leader's perspective, motivation or support or whatever. It always gets like, what are we seeing that's
Right.
more common?
well, yeah, the most common, I think, is the peer relationship, and there's a little bit of competition.
What's my responsibility? What's your responsibility? And how do I
Stay in
get
your
an
lane.
edge on
Yeah,
you?
exactly.
Because instead of competing, they should be cooperating.
Right. And that's not called teamwork. And so if you're more team oriented, there's a lot more civility going on because you're really wanting to help everyone on your team.
Right.
And the rest of your team feels the same. And that's an ideal team. Not everybody on the team is happy, but some of them will comply with what's going on the team. And they'll just keep their mouth shut. But we don't want that. We want them to be able to express their needs too on the team. And so without everyone sort of ganging up on what they don't like for the message that the person is giving. So there's a lot of that going on. But that person and the people on the other side of that really need to understand that we all have a say, we all have a voice. And it doesn't mean we have to bash them over the head every time they say something they don't like.
And hey, for you 93%ers out there, if you really don't enjoy your job, maybe it's time to find a different one. And that is a lot easier said than done. It's a lot easier to sit here and say, oh, yeah, if you don't like your job, just get a better one. But what I mean is there's a lot of corporations that are just taking advantage of people. And once they lose employees, well, guess what? They're going to have a real hard time doing that.
Yeah.
So if you can find an opportunity, if you can start your own opportunities, which is difficult in this environment, but also just not to shift too much, but something that I think is important to note, and the topic lends itself to that, is right now, a lot of this divisiveness that's going on, a lot of this competitive, I think it's important that we might have gotten to a point, and sometimes in our own lives, we can get to this point where it's, okay, we need to stop worrying about blame so much, because there's a lot of time for that later. But what if we just start focusing on solutions?
That's right.
And instead of being, whoa, they did that, and then this person did this, it's all that guy's fault. Just be like, okay, there's been a lot of mistakes that have been made, and we need to,
Right.
instead of focusing on how much we hate that person, let's focus on what can we do to improve things? Where do we have control?
Exactly.
And so if you're having some incivility problems in the workplace, well, priority learning is a good place to go to start getting that resolved. So,
Thank you for saying that, Michael. I appreciate it.
is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to say that taking the time to be mindful about our conversations is probably the key. Think maybe before we react. I know a lot of times people push our buttons, but being calm and thinking about something before saying it is probably the best way to deal initially.
Yeah.
Or you can just sleep on it and figure out what you want to come back to with that person. But try to be civil when you do it. But you know what? It's okay. We make mistakes. Sometimes we blurt things out we don't mean.
I've never
But and we should forgive ourselves for doing those things as well. So forgiveness, being civil, being kind, and generous with your personality.
Yeah. And I think forgiveness is important. Sometimes if you can't forgive, just try to forget it and move forward, because it's real easy to get hung up on the blame game. It's real easy to get hung up on, well, this isn't my fault.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of us are in a situation that's not necessarily our fault, but that doesn't mean that we can't do something to get out of that situation ourselves. Yes. So, Lorraine, thank you so much for joining us here at the Priority Learning Culture Coaching Podcast. I'm Mike McKean, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.